back to the Beach Bum Bookworm. I am Tiffany. My channel is all about cozy mysteries and romance books. And today I'm doing my July 2021 romance wrap up. And this was a crazy month for me. I gave out way more 5s than I normally do, but I also gave out way more 2s than I don't normally do. And I DNF'd 1 book, maybe 2 books. It was, that's not normally me. I'm like a 3 and 4 type of average rating. So buckle your seatbelt. It was a bumpy ride. Let me know what you read, what your favorites were, anything else that you want to talk about down there in the comments. That's the place to do it. On your way down to comment, don't forget to stop and hit the subscription and the notification bell, because that's going to tell you when I put out new videos each and every single week. I will say my schedule is going to be a little off this week because I'm going to be posting a video just later today because I'm going to be doing a great giveaway in August. So please, please, please look for that video. It should be up sometime this afternoon, early evening-ish on Sunday, August 1st. All right, check those details out. Let's get right into it. In 3, 2, 1, go! The first one I read was Take a Hit, Dani Brown, right here. This was the second book in the Brown Sisters series by TALIA HIBBERT. I loved the first one, and so I was like, okay, I gotta get back to the second one. It wasn't on my SAS list because it's a newer series, and I tried to put all the older series on my SAS list, but I couldn't wait any longer, and I shouldn't have waited as long as I did because I gave it 5 stars. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I read number 3, and I will tell you, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but what I will tell you is number 2 was by far my favorite. Zaf is amazing. I loved his character. Oh my gosh. And Dani is such a good character. She is a PhD student. Zaf runs this like soccer camp for soccer or rugby for youth. And he has quite a bit of trauma in his past, so there are some triggers. And they decide to fake date because he is trying to get more notice of his youth camp and his youth involvement, like I was saying. And a video went viral. He does security work at the company where Dani's at the university where Dani's at. And there's a video of him carrying her out after the fire alarm goes off and she was stuck in the elevator. And they decide that it would get everybody off their backs if they fake dated, and it goes from there. And so much about this book that I love. Like I said, Zaf is probably one of my favorite male characters I've read in a long time. Loved Dani. I mean, smart, independent woman. I don't know what's more to love. And it had the fake dating trope. Right up my alley. Again, 5 stars, no doubt about it. Loved it. The next book I read was called Fallout, right here. This is the 6th book in the Hawks Motorcycle Club series. I had never read any other books in this series or this author, but I couldn't find any books that were available and what I needed at the time. And I saw this and I was like, yeah, cool. Checked it out. So good. Gave it 5 stars. I can't wait to go back and read the first one. It was fine to read as a standalone. The only thing you missed out on was there was a lot of characters talked about that had, of course, had their own books by this point. So the main characters are Poppy and Fang. They have known each other all their life because their dads were in the same motorcycle club. Fang ends up going to another club, but before all that happens, Poppy and Fang were very close, and Poppy was in love with him. She overhears him say some pretty harsh things about her. He did it to get somebody else off his back. It wasn't like, something that he meant, but unfortunately she heard it at the wrong time, of course. And instead of communicating with each other, Poppy leaves. So now there's been some time in between. She comes back and she's still, upset about, trying to get used to this very new and crazy hairstyle. So, sorry. And there's a lot going on within the motorcycle club that brings them together and their intense relationship. 4 stars. I will be checking out the first 5. So good. Loved it. The next book I read was called Without Me, right here. This is the 5th book in the Men of Ink series, and I gave this 5 stars. It was by far my favorite, at least as, I will say, at least as individual read. So when I say individual read, there's some books that have come up that I've read since then that aren't a new character and their relationship. It's just kind of like follow-ups, and they were also fabulous. But this one is Anthony's story. And I was going to say Thomas, but no. Anthony's story. And Anthony is the brother I've been waiting for because he is, cocky, and he's kind of a butthole, and he is a total womanizer, has no interest, makes fun of his other brothers, the other gallows, all the time about how, you know, into their women they are, and blah, 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 blah. I'm putting it nicer than he does. And then he meets Max. And Max is written so well for Anthony. She is the only woman that could get Anthony to fall. I really believe that. CHELLE Bliss couldn't have wrote a better female character for Anthony. I absolutely loved her. I loved Anthony. I will say I was a little irritated with Max at some point because I was like, just get together. Come on. I mean, there's a lot going on there, and I will say there's some triggers in there for medical reasons. I don't like to give out triggers because I want you guys to check out things for yourself, because I don't know what your triggers are. Obviously, everybody's different, but there are definitely some triggers in here for medical illnesses and different things. So good. 5 stars. Favorite of the series, at least up until this point. So the next book I read was Spun Out right here. This is the 10th book in the Blacktop Cowboy series by LORELEI James. And again, I'm now caught up in that series, and I really hope it's not over. I really need to update my SAS list. I have so many new slots available, but I really need to do more research because some of the books I put on my last time updated, I can't find them. I'm gonna figure it out. All right, so in this one, we have Streeter, who is an adorable single dad, and Bailey, who is just out of the army. There are triggers in this for several different things, including suicide. She also, this isn't a trigger, but I thought this was actually great, from somebody who can totally relate. She suffers from a chronic autoimmune disorder. And so I thought that was great representation. So we have the single dad, and we have Bailey, who's come. Her sister is Harper, and she has come to stay with Harper while she's trying to figure out what she's doing. She's told everybody she's on leave from the army. She has, actually exited from the military. I don't want to give anything away because, yeah. So, and this is those two story. I can't say much without completely spoiling it. Again, though, look for those triggers. So good. I gave it 4 huge stars. The next book I read was 22 right here. This is the 14th book in the Nashville Assassin series by TONI, ALEO. Loved it. Gave it 4 stars. So in this one, it is a novella, and I don't normally like novellas. I've talked about this before, but this wasn't a brand new couple. So, because that's my thing with novellas, is I don't feel like you get a chance to really be invested before the story's over. But it works when you already know the couple. So it was Lucas and Fallon, and they already had a whole story. This is just following up with them, which I love when authors do this. And it was fabulous. So good. So good. 4 stars. I also read One Timer right here. This was the 17th book in the Nashville Assassin series, another novella. And this one was super fun too, because we never got this before. So Harper and Jacob had a story already, but this is them telling their story very differently than we got from their own perspective to their daughter. So their daughter is wanting to run off with this guy who they believe isn't really doing anything and wants to pull her away from her school and all this other stuff. And Jacob and Harper are trying to tell her, they're like, well, she's like, I want what you have. And you guys are, and they're like, but it didn't necessarily start out that way. And you get a totally different perspective from their standpoint of how their love came to be. It was so good. I loved it. 4.5 stars. The next book I read right here was Puck Buddies. It is the sixth book, in the Bad Mother Puckers series by LILI Valente, and I gave it 2 stars. I love this series, but I did not love these characters. I thought it went from 0 to 60. I didn't buy into their relationship at all. I just didn't care for it all the way around. That's all I got to say about it. Next book I read was Honor Me right here. This is the 6th book in the Men of Ink series. Again, of course, this is on my SAS list, so you're seeing it a lot, by CHELLE Bliss. And oh my gosh, I gave this 4 stars. Would have given it 5, but. So in this one, there's a lot going on. We're seeing it from City and Susie's point of view, who is a previous couple, actually the first couple in this series. And she's suffering from postpartum depression, so the trigger for that. But the family has also been threatened because Thomas and, what's his name, James. So James is Izzy's husband, and Thomas, one of the other gallows, were undercover for a while, and they put away a motorcycle club, and now some of these people from the motorcycle club are being released from prison, and they are after the gallows, and there's a big threat on the family. Oh my gosh, buckle your seatbelts. I will, and the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because I tweeted CHELLE Bliss. I almost broke my phone because of this book. I almost DNF'd it because of one scene. And that one scene also made me almost throw my phone across the room. And I'm not kidding. Thank gosh I waited another 3 minutes because it all turned itself back around. But I mean, I was standing in my kitchen and working on something, and I was listening to it, and I was like, you have got, oh my gosh. And like I said, I tweeted CHELLE Bliss this, and she's like, yeah. She's like, you're not the only one. And I told her, I was like, I think I called you some unkind names. I do want to apologize for that. She's like, oh yeah, you weren't the only one. And I was like, oh my goodness. So intense. It was fabulous. 4 stars. Probably should still give it 5, but I mean, I almost broke my phone, so I'm giving it a 4. The next one I read was Act Your Age, Eve Brown right here. This is the 3rd book and the final book in the Brown Sisters trilogy by TALIA HIBBERT. I gave it 3 stars. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. Still a great book. Don't get me wrong. But the first one, I think I gave 4 to 4.5 stars. The second one, I gave 5, big fat 5. I talked about it earlier in this wrap up. And this one, the premise, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to love this. I mean, it's the guy with her car. So what happens is he owns a B&B. She needs a job. She's been kind of wandering all over the place, and her parents are like, you need to hold a job. We're giving you this much time to get it together, sort of thing. And so she decides she's going to apply at this B&B, and she has no interview set up, anything. She just walks in, and Jacob is a very, very orderly guy. There is some good representation in here because he is autistic, and but he needs stuff done a certain way, and she just kind of flips it on its head, and he's like, no, she is not going to work. She didn't even make an interview. She hadn't even filled out her resume. No. So she's leaving, and she's upset, and because she didn't get the job and this and that. And Jacob's like, oh, his friend's like, what are you doing? We need her, blah, 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 blah. He's like, fine. So he goes out. He's trying to get her attention. She hits him with her car. So then that's where the story kind of takes off. And I really, really enjoyed it, but I just thought I would enjoy it more. I don't know. It was slow for me. That's the only thing I can say about it. Compared to the other 2, I felt like this one was just very slow. Still 3 stars. It was a great read. The next book was one of my DNFs. I either DNF'd just one, this one, or 2. I can't remember. It was 3 Blind Dates right here by QUINN. And I did not rate it because I DNF'd it. And I love QUINN. And there was nothing wrong with this one except for, at least for me, but the plot. She's dating all these men as a dating service to try to meet Mr. Right. But I don't like in romances where one of the main characters is dating other people and really confused about which one of them she really wants. I don't know. I just didn't like it. DNF'd it. Okay. The next one I read was Two Wedding Crashers by Megan Quinn. So this is number 2 in this series. Loved it. Gave it 4 stars. Again, though, there was just the one couple. They had no confusion about who they wanted to be with. Oh my gosh, just one piece of hair. I'm so sorry, guys. All right, so like I said, second book in the Dating by Numbers series. Loved it. 4 stars. There are definitely triggers in this. Make sure you check out the triggers. So Riley lives in Maine and Beck lives in Cali, I believe. And they are talked into crashing this wedding in the Florida Keys. Totally separate events. They don't know each other. It was just all coincidental. And they meet while they're in Florida to crash this wedding, and it takes off from there. We actually met Beck in book 1. He was one of the dates that the main character in that book went on. Again, I loved this one. So 4 stars, check it out. The next book I read was Worship Me right here. This is the 7th book in the Men of Ink series, gave it 4 stars. So in this one, we are catching up with James and Izzy, not really catching up. So what is going on is, like I said, James was undercover and he took down this motorcycle club, and he now owns a security company, and the security company has this assignment to find this guy, and he is known to be into like sex clubs. And so James and Izzy are gonna go undercover together to try to bust this guy. Now they have some background in this realm. They are into different things in the sex club. They've definitely been there themselves. And so this is, although they're there to investigate, they're also there to do their own thing. I gave it 4 stars. Really, really loved it. Love those 2 characters. Izzy's another one of my favorite females because she is just no nonsense, sass. Love her. Loved this book. Again, 4 stars. The next book I read was The Chase right here. This is the 4th book in the Fast Track series, which I added to my SAS list when I updated it. It is by Aaron McCarthy, and I gave it 2 stars. It kind of felt off in the pacing the whole time. I was like, it doesn't really, the plot wasn't there for, I don't know. But what really turned me off was I did read the whole thing. And there were, at the end, the 3rd act complication was really intense. And there was no epilogue to like answer one huge question. And I was like, are you kidding me? I didn't like it at all after that. I wasn't a huge fan along the way, but I probably would have gave it 3 stars. But when she didn't have an epilogue to answer that question that was really important, I was 2 stars. Didn't like it. The next book I read was my other DNF, so I did have 2 DNFs, but this was not the book steal. So here it's $1 Million Cowboy, the 5th book in the Cupid Texas series, number 5 by Lori Wilde. I need to try this in another format besides audio. So I DNF'd it, but nothing to do with the book. The narrator ruined this book. The narrator for the female, I mean, I think she did both voices, but when she was doing the female's voice, this is a romance novel and it's pretty steamy, and her female sounded like she was about 8 years old. It creeped me out. I didn't like it at all. Total turn off, ruined the entire book for me, DNF'd it. I need to try this in another format because the book was cute. I was really enjoying the book, but I felt very uncomfortable listening to this book and hearing an 8-year-old voice. Nope. No. The next book right here is called High Heat. This is the 2nd book in the Hot Shot series. This is a male-male romance, and we have Smoke Jumper, Garrick, and Rain. And so Garrick was in a really bad smoke jumping accident, and he was severely hurt, and he's trying to do physical therapy to get back to his job that he loves. Probably not going to happen, but he can't let go of it just yet. He finds this lost dog, and in finding this lost dog, he also finds this guy who is staying with his grandma next door, and they meet, and it's their story. 4 stars. It was so good. Really, really loved it. Rain kind of got on my nerves at points. yeah, kind of roll eyes type of thing. But I loved Garrick, and I loved them together. So 4 stars, really enjoyed it. So the next book and the last book I read was Fix Her Up right here. This is the first book in the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey. This was my first ever Tessa Bailey. It will not be my last. I gave it 5 stars. Oh my gosh, I loved this book. How have I not read Tessa Bailey before? Except I think she writes a lot of historical romance, and I don't read a lot of historicals, so maybe that's why, but I'm going to be reading her contemporary. Loved it. So in this one, we have Georgie, whose family runs a home renovation series, or business, but she is a clown. She wants to have her whole business doing like kids' parties and different stuff like that. And her brother's best friend was a professional baseball player. His career ends and he needs to kind of change around his image. He's known as this like womanizer and all these different things. And he's trying to get a job as a TV announcer for baseball. And he needs a little more of a clean image. And so he fake dates. Love the fake date trope. One of my favorites with Georgie. And oh, 5 stars. So good. I actually immediately started number 2. I'm reading that now. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. Let me know what you read, what your favorite of the month was. Check out the giveaways video, and I'll see you back here next time. Hope all your future reads are 5 stars. Bye, everyone.